Becoming Victoria Wood, which is a documentary by Catherine Abbott about, one of the UK's, I think arguably one of the world's most important modern comedians. There's quite a lot of discussion about comedian and comedienne, what about which word we're using.
What word are we using? Where did
Well,
that
she herself talked about there's a song about being a comedienne, because at the point that she was doing it, one of the things the documentary reminds you is just how groundbreaking what Victoria Wood did was. So, I mean, I had either not known or forgotten most of this stuff. That she was on New Faces when she was on the television. They got a name wrong. She did comedy songs for That's Life for Esther Ranson. She won a BAFTA for As Seen on TV, which was a big breakthrough. She scored a whopping hit with Dinner Ladies and broke records with consecutive nights selling out. I think it was the Albert Hall. Here's a little clip from the documentary.
She was the trailblazer.
She was fearless.
Victoria Wood.
I'd never quite seen anybody like her.
Hello. She was just Vicky.
Vic's performing character wasn't Vic.
It's one step removed.
She was a very shy person.
Off I go then.
She needed to become comfortable as herself.
I was patronised either for being fat, either for being a woman.
Very wild in Morecambe on a Saturday night.
Or for being northern.
Old men dipping their Garibaldis into another woman's Horlicks.
So here's the interesting thing. On the description of the documentary from the production company, it says, behind the joyous persona, the singer, the satirist, the sharp-witted writer, lay a young woman navigating insecurity, anger, and self-doubt. And what the documentary does is it goes right back to the sort of very beginning of her life. It has some very, very early stuff, and then it follows her through misfit school kid who dreamed of playing music and writing and making people laugh. Then years of rejection, like absolutely years of rejection. People talk quite a lot about this whole thing about becoming an overnight success takes years, and then how all that fed into the kind of brand of observational comedy that she really kind of excelled in, and then became a pathbreaker on British television, best-selling live performer. So the documentary includes things like the first ever recorded performance from 1973. It's got behind-the-scenes footage, much of which hasn't been seen before, apparently. I mean, I don't know because I'm not an expert. And at one point, there's this discussion about the problem was that people didn't know how to describe her, and then later on, people referred to other people as being like Victoria Wood. So it's like kind of the thing that you can't describe actually ends up as becoming its own genre. It's funny because you mentioned Bait, and there was a thing about, what genre are Mark Jenkins films? They are Mark Jenkins. That is the genre. And I think that what the film does is it argues kind of pretty convincingly. He's got interviews with French and Saunders, who really describe her as a trailblazer, Joan Armatrading, Maxine Peake, Michael Ball, Jasper Carrott, with whom she shared a double bill. So I mean, it's a very good roster of voices, and what it does is it sort of describes the pathway that she took to the success that she finally achieved as being part and parcel of what it was that made her work so funny and so sharp. And essentially what she says is, I needed to find my own voice. I needed to be myself. I needed to accept myself. And having done that then became the thing that resonated with everybody else. People use that phrase that in specifics, you find the universal. So if, for example, you're making a drama about something and you delve into the specifics of something, it weirdly becomes universal. In the case of this, the sort of arc of it seems to be that at the beginning she doesn't fit, and she doesn't fit anyway. I mean, for one thing, women being funny you can't have that. Women aren't funny. That's not how you do it. And then she finds her own space by being herself, and the more she is herself, and the more she's able to do what she wants. I mean, she talks. You hear at one point about being required to write funny That's Life songs, and then later on being able to write the songs that she wants to write. And there's a little snippet of a song which other people will know, but I didn't, about an older man whose wife has died, and he forgets that she's died, and he gets up in the morning and he makes breakfast for her, and then he remembers that she's not there anymore. And I mean, it's beautiful. It's just heartbreaking, really, really poignant. And watching the doc, I confess I had either didn't know or I had forgotten just how much she had done, just how hugely successful she was, and just how much an entire generation of performers sort of see her as a kind of as a ground zero. There's one moment in it in which she was compared to Jake Thackeray, which apparently causes her to flinch because she doesn't want to be compared to anybody at all. But actually, I think that there is I kind of understand that, that comparison. There's an awful lot of stuff about her working with Julie Walters. There's plenty to laugh at because the clips are just really funny. I mean, the clips are really, really properly funny.
The joke in that clip about Garibaldi and
I know
Another Woman's Horlicks was fun, yeah.
And it's the whole thing is like that. But I think also it is a very kind of encouraging life lesson because the documentary is about her, and of course, her work. It's like 4 lives worth of work in that life. But the documentary, I think, also beyond that, says if you're insecure, if you're uneasy, if you feel like you don't fit, stick with it. You know what's that old? There's that cliche thing: be yourself. Everybody else is taken. And I do think the doc actually encourages you to think. I can imagine somebody watching this because she's so she went through so much struggle at the beginning. I mean, setbacks and being rejected by loads and loads of things. And I can imagine somebody watching this and thinking, well, that's a lesson. The lesson is you lean into what you do, what you are, who you are, and what makes you different to everybody else. And so on a sort of broader thing, it is a documentary about accepting yourself for what you are. And then just from the point of view, honestly, you could just watch it for the clips because the clips are laugh out loud funny. And when she's on stage, she's just like, I never saw her live. Did you ever see her perform?
No, I interviewed her a couple of times, and she was always great, and also quite shy. You could tell.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And everyone said they said it in that clip. But talks about the fact that she was basically fairly shy and retiring and uncertain, and yet you can see during the course of the documentary that as she finds herself on stage, that is a sort of source of confidence. And also everyone in the documentary speaks incredibly highly of her. So I thought it was a fine piece of work, and it was just great to spend 90 minutes just watching that stuff and go, oh yeah, I had forgotten so much of this.
She was a TV star, so presumably this will be on television very shortly. Because it doesn't sound very cinematic.
At the moment, it is in cinemas, and I looked this up. If you go to victoriawoodmovie.com, so it's victoriawoodmovie.com, that site seems to have all the screening dates, and it seems to be playing at independent art house cinemas around the country. But if you go to that site, it seems to have all the screening dates listed on it.